Life is a Portuguese beach. How to break free from routine and find extraordinary beauty in the everyday ordinary. This post is an exploration of an idea, how the wonder of the world around us can fade into the background of our daily lives. And more importantly, how we can recapture that sense of awe and appreciation for the things we've come to take for granted. I wanted to try something different as well. This is a longer form version than I usually write. Let me know what you think of this format. I'm open to ideas and suggestions, and I'm having fun trying out new things to express myself. I love Substack for giving me the opportunity to create written, verbal, and visual options in my creativity. All right, let's get started. There's something profound about standing on the shores of a well-loved beach, watching the world move around you. The tide ebbs and flows, the breeze shifts gently, and tourists come and go, chasing a fleeting connection with the sea. For those of us who live near such places, the beach becomes something else. The salt in the air is as familiar as the roof over your head. The sight of the sun rising over the waves is just part of the day, nothing special, nothing extraordinary. Yet for others, it's a moment of awe. A brief encounter with something almost magical. This contrast between the locals who take the beach for granted and the tourists who are enchanted by it struck me deeply as I sat on a Portuguese beach, watching people drift in and out. The moment offered a simple but profound reminder of a universal truth. The extraordinary or extraordinary can easily become ordinary if we allow it. This beach is my beach. The one I meet friends at, the beach that I take a quick dip in, and it happens to be a famous beach as well. Part 1. The 4 blue shorts. The efficiency of missing the moment. Let's begin with a simple scene. 4 young men, British by the looks of them, march onto the beach in perfect synchronization. Blue shorts, matching sunglasses, identical height. It's as if they had stepped out of the same mold. With brisk, purposeful strides, they walk across the sand, stop briefly to take in the view, snap a photo, and then left as quickly as they had arrived. To them, the beach was just another stop on their tour of Portugal. They came, they saw, they clicked the cameras, they posted to Instagram, and were off. In less than 2 minutes, they had taken what they believed to be the essence of the beach and moved on, satisfied that the photo would encapsulate the experience. It will take them longer to get the sand from their shoes than the whole experience occurred. But had they experienced anything at all? From my seat on the bench, I saw them as a perfect metaphor for how we often approach life. We rush through experiences, believing that capturing a photo or ticking a box is the same as truly being present. The beach to these 4 young men was just another stop, a pretty background for a social media post. Yet they missed the point entirely. They didn't feel the sand between their feet or breathe in the salty air. They didn't notice the way the light shimmered on the water or how the distant horizon seemed to stretch on forever. They didn't experience just how cold the Atlantic is. How often do we do the same? We visit beautiful places or share moments with people we love, but we don't truly experience them. We're already thinking about the next thing, already looking for the perfect picture, the next goal to accomplish. And in doing so, we take the extraordinary for granted. We lose the wonder that makes life meaningful. It's easy to understand why this happens. The fast pace of modern life often forces us into efficiency mode, especially when we're traveling or trying to juggle multiple commitments. But efficiency is not the same as experience. When we rush through life, we miss the subtle, quiet moments that give depth to our experiences. If there's anything to be learned from the 4 blue shorts, it's this: don't rush. Don't believe that a snapshot or a quick glance is enough. Take the time to truly experience the moment. Feel the sand, listen to the waves, notice the world around you. Because if you don't, the extraordinary will pass you by without you even realizing it. Part 2. The tattooed stranger. Familiarity breeds blindness. A little while later, a woman, her presence immediately striking. Her skin was a deep golden tan, her calf adorned with a beautifully intricate tribal tattoo. The design wrapped elegantly around her leg, a symbol of the journey or a connection to something deeper, perhaps. She walked with the kind of quiet confidence that only comes from feeling completely at ease in one's surroundings. She paused for a moment, gazing out at the horizon, her face betraying no real reaction, and then she moved on, continuing her walk down the shoreline. To her, this view was nothing new. She had seen it before, countless times, I imagine. The sea, the sky, the sand, these were all just parts of her daily life, as ordinary as brushing her teeth or drinking a cup of coffee. But to me, sitting there on the beach, it was extraordinary. The sheer beauty of the scene was undeniable, and yet to her, it seemed to barely register. How many times had she walked to this beach? How many times had she stood in this exact spot, watching the waves roll in? For her, the wonder of it all had faded, lost to the routine of familiarity. This is the danger of seeing the same thing day after day. We stop seeing it altogether. Familiarity breeds blindness. When we encounter something regularly, we start to lose our appreciation for it. We stop noticing the details, the subtle beauty, the wonder. The extraordinary becomes ordinary, not because it has changed, but because we have. This isn't just true of beautiful places, it's true of everything in life. It can happen in places, partners, and friends. The people we love, the activities we enjoy, the opportunities we have, all of these things can start to fade into the background if we aren't careful. We begin to take them for granted, to assume they will always be there, always the same. But what if we could change that? What if we could train ourselves to see the extraordinary again, even in the things we see every day? One way to do this is through mindfulness, being present in the moment and paying attention to what's around us. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful. When we actively notice the world around us, we begin to appreciate it more. We start to see the beauty in the familiar and the wonder in the ordinary. Take a moment to think about something in your life that you've started to take for granted. Maybe it's a person, a place, or even a routine. How can you see it with fresh eyes? How can you appreciate it as if it were new again? Part 3. The embrace of two, finding joy in simplicity. Not long after, a couple arrived and sat down on the bench near the boardwalk. They were a quiet, content pair, their arms casually interlocked, their matching socks peeking out from beneath their sandals. They weren't here to rush through the experience or snap a quick photo. They simply sat, watching the waves roll in, their heads gently resting together. For 20 minutes, they did nothing but exist in the moment. They didn't speak much, didn't move much. They just sat together, enjoying the simple act of being. Their body language, the quiet way they leaned into each other, spoke volumes. They were in no hurry because they didn't need to be elsewhere. The view, the moment, each other was enough. It's easy to overlook the beauty of simplicity in our lives. We're conditioned to think that we need grand gestures, big moments, and dramatic experiences to find joy. But sometimes joy is found in the quiet moments, the unremarkable times where nothing much happens except for being present with someone or something you love. It's also the given time of being with someone else that is critical to connection. Not just time, but time well spent based on that person's needs and wants. The couple on the beach reminded me of the power of presence. They weren't trying to capture the moment for later, they were simply living in it. In a world that often values productivity and achievement, and yet in these moments of stillness is where we often find the deepest sense of peace. How often do we allow ourselves to be still? To simply sit and enjoy the moment without feeling the need to document it or share it with others. The more we can find joy in the small, quiet moments, the less we take life for granted. We learn to appreciate what's in front of us right now without needing it to be bigger or better. If there's one repeated lesson to take from the couple on the beach, it's this: slow down, be still, appreciate the small, quiet moments in life. They are just as valuable, if not more so, than the big, extraordinary ones. Part 4. The FaceTime woman, the noise of disconnection. On another bench, a woman sat with her phone held at arm's length, her voice carrying across the beach as she spoke loudly into FaceTime. She was animated, her conversation vibrant, her gestures enthusiastic. She was miles away in her mind, her attention focused entirely on the person on the other end of the call. The beach, the ocean, the view, it all seemed to fade away into the background for her. It struck me how disconnected she seemed from the surroundings, despite being physically present. She was in one of the most beautiful places in the world, yet her mind was elsewhere, engaged in a conversation with someone far away. She wasn't alone in this, of course. Everywhere you look these days, people are absorbed in their phones, scrolling through feeds, chatting with friends, or snapping pictures instead of living in the moment. Technology has given us an incredible ability to stay connected with others, but it has also, in many ways, disconnected us from the world around us. We're so focused on documenting our experiences or sharing them with others that we often fail to actually experience them ourselves. The woman on the bench was a perfect example of this. She was present physically, but not really there in practice. She was missing the extraordinary beauty of the beach because her attention was elsewhere. It made me wonder how often I do the same, how often I let my mind wander or my phone distract me from the wonder of the present moment. It's easy to take the extraordinary for granted when we are not fully paying attention. The world is full of beauty, but we can only appreciate it if we're truly present. Part 5. The Shuffle of Time, Conversations by the Sea. Later, I noticed a group of older women wading into the shallow water, their bikinis revealing the soft lines of time on their skin. They moved slowly, their feet shuffling through the ankle-deep sea, their conversation a gentle murmur against the sound of the waves. They didn't seem in any hurry. There was no rush to take pictures, no need to document their presence. They were simply enjoying the moment, their conversation flowing as easily as the tide. This was their friend time to spend gossiping or discussing spouses or their dinner plans. For them, the beach wasn't a destination or a novelty. It was just part of their lives, a place where they had probably visited countless times before. But there was a sense of appreciation in their slow, deliberate movements. They weren't taking this moment for granted. They were savoring it in their own quiet ways. This had become a ritual for each to connect with the water, the sand, and each other. As I watched them, I thought about how often we rush through life, not taking the time to appreciate the moments or people we have in our lives. We're so focused on the future, on the next thing, that we forget to enjoy the present. These women seem to have learned the art of slowing down. They had learned how to savor the simple pleasures of walking in the water, talking with friends, and being present. It made me think about my own life, about the moments I've rushed through and the ones that I've taken time to savor. How often do I truly appreciate the small, simple pleasures of life? How often do I allow myself to just be present without worrying about what comes next? My most common thought is, what's next on my list? The older women reminded me that life is full of small, beautiful moments and that we shouldn't take them for granted. They may seem ordinary, but they are, in fact, extraordinary in their simplicity and routine. Part 6. The Misguided Photographer, Trying Too Hard. At one point, I noticed a woman, likely in her 30s, crouching in the sand, camera poised. She was trying desperately to capture the perfect photo of her mother, who seemed blissfully unaware of her daughter's efforts. Every time the younger woman lined up the shot, her mother would naively turn around, ruining the moment. The frustration was palpable, but it was clear that the younger woman wasn't frustrated with her mother, she was frustrated with herself. She wanted so badly to capture something special, something beautiful, but in doing so, she was missing the point. She wasn't present in the moment. She was too focused on trying to freeze it, to turn it into something perfect for later. In her efforts to create a beautiful memory, she was missing the actual experience of spending time with her mom at the beach. This is something we're all guilty of at times. We want to capture the perfect photo or craft the perfect moment, and in doing so, we lose sight of the fact that life isn't about perfection. Our intentions of the reward makes us skip the present for the future accolades. But life is about being present, about experiencing the moment as it happens, even if it's messy or imperfect. The young woman's attempt to create something extraordinary were actually taking away from the extraordinary moment that was already unfolding. She was so focused on the outcome that she wasn't appreciating the process, the joy of simply being with her mother, of sharing a moment on the beach. Part 7. The Fast Walkers and the Unhurried Embrace, a tale of two approaches. Towards the end of my time on the beach, I observed two couples, each with a different approach to the experience. After walking from the sand, the first couple walked quickly from the steps down to the water fountain, rinsed the sand from their feet, put on their shoes, and rushed off to the next thing. They were efficient, methodical, and clearly had an itinerary to stick to. The second couple, however, took a different approach. They strolled slowly down the beach, sat on a bench, and leaned into each other. They took their time brushing the sand off of each other's feet, sitting in comfortable silence as they watched the waves and felt their feet dry. They weren't in any hurry. They were content to just be, to enjoy the moment for what it was. In many ways, these two couples represent two different approaches to life. The first couple was focused on efficiency, on doing as much as possible in as little time as possible. The second couple was focused on presence, on truly experiencing the moment. We all fall somewhere on this spectrum, and we shift minute by minute and day by day. There are times when we rush through life trying to accomplish as much as we can, and there are times when we slow down, when we take the time to really appreciate what's in front of us. And then there are times when we are forced to slow down, as in sickness, illness, or imposed delays. But if we're always rushing, always focusing on the next thing, we'll miss the beauty that's all around us. The extraordinary will become ordinary simply because we're not paying attention. As I sat on that Portuguese beach, watching the ebb and flow of people, I couldn't help but think how easy it is to let the beauty of life slip into the background, to stop seeing the wonders that's all around us. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can train ourselves to see the extraordinary again, even in the things we've seen 1,000 times before. The key is presence. It's about slowing down, paying attention, and truly experiencing the world around us. It's about appreciating the small, quiet moments, the ones that often go unnoticed. It's about recognizing that even the things we see every day can be extraordinary if we're willing to look at them with fresh eyes. It's about knowing your body and noticing when the rushing has crept in, and to stop and take a breath. You have the time. So the next time you find yourself at the beach or with a loved one or in the midst of a routine you've done 100 times before, pause, take a deep breath, look around, and remember that the world is full of wonder if only we take the time to see it. Don't take it for granted. I hope you enjoyed this reading, How to Break Free from Routine and Find Extraordinary Beauty in the Everyday Ordinary.